Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you today for this committee. My name is Thiago Sombra. I'm the Vice President of the Technology Committee at Britcham. And today we have with us Pablo Bausili, who will address a very relevant topic on the digital innovation and how could we identify talents in this digital area. And I also have with us today Luciano Moraes, who is the president of the Technology Committee. And I'm very pleased to let Luciano make his introduction.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Thiago. So good morning for everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today to talk about a very relevant subject. So I'd like to just share a couple of things with you. The British Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Brazil, Britcham, has been operating in Brazil for about 107 years, being the most relevant forum of the Brazil and UK business and government community to increase trade, investment, services, and bilateral relationships. We do operate nationwide in Brazil, in São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, Paraná, and Minas Gerais. We bring together in the chamber major British investors in Brazil from the most diverse sectors of the economy, from energy, mining, education, health, advanced engineering, food and beverage, professional services, financial services, among others, as well as Brazilian companies that engage in the UK and Brazil relationships. The Chamber operates through 12 thematic committees, including agribusiness, human capital and education, international trade and investments, economy and finance, energy, infrastructure, legal, tax and regulation, environment and sustainability, mining, health, risks and insurance, technology, and also with the Consultative Advocacy Commission, CCA, on priority issues on the climate, tax, and regulatory agendas. The initiatives carried out in the first half of 2023 include face-to-face events, webinars, lunch lectures, technical visits, seminars, meetings with CEOs and public authorities, among other actions. And we have so far brought together more than 5,000 people. So all the activity we carry out follow and reinforce Britcham's mission to promote bilateral business between Brazil and the United Kingdom, working to create diverse, inclusive, prosperous, and sustainable business environments and societies, serving members and contributing to the growth of trade, industry, services, and investments. So, I invite you and everyone in this session and, your colleagues, if you can share that, to visit Britcham's website, www.britcham.com.br, and participate in Chamber's next events in 2023. So have a rich calendar. I think some of the events will suit your best interest. So I'd like to thank to Britcham's supporting members, whose brains were widely published in the opening slide of the webinar, to Pearson and the team, Thiago Sombra, and to Pablo Bausili. So passing to Thiago.
Thanks, Luciano, for your opening remarks. I'll just give an explanation of the webinar dynamics. Well, today we will have Paulo, and I would like to thank Pearson for this amazing opportunity to join us and give this presentation. So the webinar is being streamed live through Zoom and YouTube. We will have the speaker's presentation followed by a Q&A section, and I invite all the colleagues here to send your questions through the Q&A tool of the Zoom platform. I will ask also the audience to provide us your name and the company before sending your questions in order to identify the purposes of the questions. And if we do not have enough time, that we can probably later share the questions with our speaker. And there will be a curation for the questions asked. And since there is a time constraint, we apologize for questions that may not be addressed in an answer by the speaker. I'll do my best to send to him. And if possible, he will share his overview with you later. Just to give you about the background of Pablo. Pablo is a large accounts director at Pearson. A long experience in the learning industry has given Pablo the opportunity to hold pivotal roles at the esteemed companies such as Global, HP, Cisco, Microsoft, and Pearson. And throughout his career, he has organized, executed, and spearheaded team's incentives tailored to a diverse range of audiences, spanning from seasoned professionals to 50th graders. These multifaceted endeavors have been crafted with the overarching goals of enhancing corporate efficiency, fostering employment opportunities, and supporting underserved or at-risk communities, and retraining or repositioning displaced individuals. So today we have a pleasure to have Pablo with us. Pablo, I turn to you and thanks again for the opportunity to share your knowledge with us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much to Britcham and to Luciano and Thiago for the kind introduction and words. Essentially, that was a good introduction just to say that I've been working in education for many, many years. And within education, we've worked with recruitment. And I think that's what brings you here today. So I will work on bringing up the presentation. And Thiago, I'd appreciate it if you let me know that you can see it and you can see it correctly. Is that visible now?
Yes, it's visible.
Excellent, thank you. So it's hopefully I'll take good advantage of the time and some good information will come through. I think there's going to be a lot of information, so let me know if you need me to slow down or repeat any part. Thiago, I trust you to keep me within the boundaries. So,
Okay.
what are the roles of credentialing? Today we speak a lot about certification and we speak a lot about granting or obtaining badges or digital credentials. Pearson is a fairly large organization. It's the largest organization in education in the world, and Certiport is one of its divisions. Certiport is part of the credentialing or assessments division, and we test about 25 million people every year to determine their knowledge on different subjects, a very wide range of subjects. Certiport was founded in 1999 and was acquired in 2012 by Pearson, and since then we've been part of the largest organization of credentialing and certification in the world. Why are industry-backed certifications important? Well, I could say that I can fly a plane, but it's difficult to tell whether you would trust me to fly a plane to carry you. But if I get a certification saying that I'm a pilot and I'm certified by a accredited or an independent entity, then you're more likely to be willing to fly with me. More importantly, a company like Gol or Aerolíneas or American Airlines would hire me. So we need a third party to provide a validation of the skills that I have to fly you around. And that happens in just about any discipline. And we have two big groups of credentials. One is standard-based. So we have an institution or a board or a standard that evaluates the knowledge that I have, or we have an industry backing. So Microsoft or Cisco or Hewlett Packard will provide the basis upon which my skills are being measured. That will allow me to prove my skills and will give me the right to carry a badge. Badges are today blockchain backed, and they list a precise number of skills that each one of these credentials carries. So for example, if you were an architect or a designer and you have an Autodesk for AutoCAD certification, then we know that you can manage your 2D designs, your 3D designs, your architectural designs, your AutoCAD skills, your Autodesk abilities. You can draft CAD drawings and designs. You have digital skills because you're operating a digital tool that's fairly sophisticated. You are familiar with engineering design, and you can probably help out with project management, even if you're not a project manager. So those are the skills that this badge carries. And we know that because you've passed a test, because you've obtained that certification. Today, we're facing one of the largest gaps in skills in history. Probably because we have more knowledge than we did in the past, but also because we're facing more innovation than any time in previous history. So, on average, there's a 54% global gap. That means that about 50%, half the positions that are being vacant, that need filling for different corporations, are left open or are being filled by people who do not have the skills that they need. World Fund told us last year that the majority of Latin American children are not receiving a high quality and relevant education. And just last month, the World Bank determined that Brazil will face 13 years of training and development before they can come close to closing the gap of skills that they have today. I don't have the updated numbers on Brazil, but they're fairly easy to find out because you guys have a very good statistics bureau that manages all those numbers. Last year, the gap presented by Brazil was about 66%. That means that 60 vacant spots in any business, in any industry across Brazil remain vacant or are filled by people who need to be trained. And you know that's a big investment for corporations. You know that takes time, costs a lot of money, and makes the business less productive than it could be. Why are badges important in this scenario, in this environment? On the one hand, for an individual, for somebody who has the skills and carries the skills, one can publicize the badge, can show it digitally across different platforms, and can display all the abilities that I listed a few minutes ago that I carry with that badge. That also allows me to find out who is needing my skills. So I can go to a database associated to the badge that I carry, look up who needs 3D designers, and find out where they're located, how much they're paying, and what type of job I would be doing. That's for the individual, and that's very good, and that's a retail market. But from a business perspective, why are companies benefiting, or how can they benefit from the badging that we have today? We know that 90% of managers consider certification a criteria for hiring. That means that they're looking at all the candidates, and if they find certifications, they bring on those candidates first. Another criteria that hiring managers have displayed is that they believe, they trust certification to bring in more productive talent. People with certification have accomplished and understand the needs better than people who don't have a certification. Even when people have degrees from different universities that are very respectful and very credited, different certifications provide specific knowledge, pinpoint accuracy, and the skills that they need. Now, from the corporation, why are badges valuable in this sense? Well, first, they can find out where talent is residing. So if I need a 3D designer, I can find out how many I have available in Rio de Janeiro, how many in Sao Paulo, how many in Brasilia, how many in Curitiba. I can find out how much they will cost in all those markets. I can understand when they were working and for who, and how old the credential or the certification they have was acquired, how long ago it was acquired. This provides employment agencies and hiring managers with very valuable information in order to determine how they're going to plan the talent they need for the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. What's our biggest challenge today? That innovation keeps bringing us new roles and new functions. So we don't know today what we will be hiring next year. And what's more complicated, we're finding it difficult to tell people what they need to train into for next year's hiring staff. How did recruiting work until now? How has it been working? Well, you would publish an ad, you would publicize a vacancy, and you would receive 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 resumes. You would start researching all those resumes, understanding who they are, where they are, can you bring them, how much they'll cost you. You start selecting prospects, you start interviewing prospects. Sometimes you need to test them, and eventually you make 5, 10, 12 offers in order to hire one person. This takes a lot of time. It's very uncertain. It brings a lot of questions into the process, and it's very expensive. You need to hire people in order to find out what people you want to hire. With electronic badging and credentialing, you can find the people where you need them at the value that you can invest with the specific skills that you need. This is a more efficient process. And today, you don't only have badges for technical or accredited skills. You have badges being offered by universities. You have badges being offered for soft skills, for collaboration, for inclusivity, for lots of different things that you can define as skills, individualize them, and create a badge. The badging process is fairly simple. It's backed by blockchain, and it's tied into the profile of the person carrying the badge. So you can always make sure that the person that shows the badge has the abilities, and you can validate when they were acquired. All badging and companies, all the entities that are offering badges are backed by blockchain or similar security technology. And this makes the badge trustworthy. This is where somebody cannot fake a badge. They can tell you they know something, but they cannot bring you a credential. They cannot bring you a certification of that knowledge. We're facing lots of challenges. I'm sure in your industry you're very familiar with the type of challenges that come up when artificial intelligence comes part of the process. What we know is that artificial intelligence is not going to replace human beings. What it's going to make is challenge us to specifically aim for higher level skills. Technology is not going to replace human beings. When people used to drive carts with horses and the car came about, the profession of the mechanic, the repair process changed, but the people were still necessary. And today, we still need people repairing computers, and eventually we will need people repairing robots. People need to train for new things. Companies need to understand that those trainings are not automatic, are not easily predictable. We need to be prepared to prepare ourselves. That's our major challenge. We don't know what we're going to be asked to do tomorrow. We need to be ready to do anything that we're asked to do. That's our challenge. That's the challenge of our companies, and that's where we need to be ready moving forward. We want people to have better futures. We want people to find fulfilling experiences through their jobs, and dedicating their lives to helping others and to make everything better in a society. So we work to enable all these possibilities, and we believe that badging is a critical tool within that environment. Thank you very, very much for this time. Thiago, I'm open for questions. I'm not sure if you have any specific um, top level inquiries right now.
Yes, thank you so much, Pablo. Indeed, it was very, very clarifying, and we could probably identify most of the benefits of having tools such as the ones that you just presented, and probably trying to introduce some proceedings and try to identify talents in a different perspective. My first question is, how efficient do you believe in the following years these new technology tools may provide us more quality in the sense of identifying individuals, or in the interviews, or what kind of capabilities could we identify in those individuals for specific positions in the future?
Great question. Thank you. So we know that badging give us a data-driven process. So all our searches become more automatic in the sense that we can establish criteria and from a large population select specific skills in specific geographies for specific purposes. What we know today is people that have a certification tend to become permanent employees faster than people who don't have a certification. Manpower has shared information with us, and they tell us a temporary employee becomes a permanent employee if they have a certification 2.5 times faster. That means if somebody is being tried for 3 months, if they have a certification, usually they get a permanent offer within 1 month. We also know that people with certifications tend to move up quickly. They become more efficient. They receive improvement through their career faster. That opens the door to having more employees. So those two factors become critical in the onboarding and the hiring process. So if you add the fast automatic or automated process to find the talent, and then you hire the talent and make it permanent faster, and they become more efficient and they grow through the job ladder faster, that gives you a scale of efficiency that we don't know yet how powerful it can become.
That sounds great. A second question that I have, you mentioned a very interesting overview of one difficulty that I see most of the companies have recently. You can hear me, you're not hearing me well, Pablo?
Sorry, it was an airplane. No, I can hear you.
Okay, no, it's fine. You mentioned something that creates a lot of difficulties for certain companies that would like to hire individuals in specific places in the world and have some difficulties to identify individuals with specific capabilities in different geographies or in different jurisdictions. So probably the most beneficial, the most relevant benefit from this kind of tools that you were mentioned are more connected with places in which we don't have a lot of individuals with certain capabilities, or with places that we are not aware on how to proceed a kind of interviews or try to identify individuals that could be hired. So I would just like to foster a little bit about this, the difficulties to identify individuals with certain capabilities in jurisdiction or in geographies that are more difficult to have someone on the ground that may have all sort of competences that a company need.
Okay. So since before the pandemic, we already started a movement towards remote working. It's been several years since companies like Meta or Microsoft or even such as the World Bank have people working remotely, and it doesn't really matter whether the office is in Washington, D.C. or in Rio de Janeiro, and they live in Fernando de Noroya or the Canary Islands. The pandemic showed us that we can go a lot further in that process. And today, the dynamics are becoming such that if you have 3, 4, 5 certifications and you have a title backing your abilities and your long-term value, companies are interviewing less and less and outsourcing more and more. So you have a more dynamic workspace where people are offering talent and companies are buying talent and not necessarily hiring an employee to keep for the next 30 years. Most importantly, because the younger generation of employees do not want to be stuck, according to their own words, into a job for the next 30 years. They welcome the dynamic of change. They welcome the dynamic of resetting and looking in a different direction. They become smarter players in a more flexible environment. I'm older than most of you, and I have a very hard time chasing these ideas, but I see the new generations adopting. They come into the workforce with that in their mindset. So the challenge of finding resources in a given geography is lowered first because employees, candidates are looking for opportunities in remote places. They want to go to Tasmania for a year and work from there. And the workplace is allowing them to do that. My generation thought of going to Australia for a year, and that was like, are you sure? Are you crazy? What are you going to do in Australia? The new generation goes to Australia, comes back and goes to Spain, and nobody notices it. They don't suffer the geographical transfer. They enjoy it. The other thing is because those people are there looking for the geographical variety, companies find it a lot easier to locate talent. And the electronic information tied into the badges give us databases that provide us with information relating the geography, the skill, and the pay that each of those workers needs.
Yeah, great. No, sounds good. I would like to invite our colleagues to address questions to
Yeah.
Pablo.
Yeah,
Please feel free,
if
Luciano.
yeah, if allow me, Thiago, because in my own company, you do face that sort of challenge regarding getting the skills at the right place, right, at the right time, but it's very, very specific at the right cost, right? So we're talking about, let's say, a global shortage on skills, and I think it will be very important from two different aspects. It will be very important to know, exactly what sorts of skills we have regarding whatever badge in a particular geography, right? For companies that are hiring, but also to stimulate the workforce to take accreditations that eventually they did not even think about, to start growing in some areas. And my question then is, how can you make public, instead of having to go into Microsoft to find out how many MSCIE or whatever, accreditation they have in a particular country, how many Microsoft Teams accredited people are there, or Oracle, or the Cisco, or on business accreditation. So how you can make that public to foster people when thinking about career paths to start taking the accreditations that matter for the industry?
So, as I was saying before, predicting the type of roles that we will need in 3 or 5 years has become very, very challenging. If you remember maybe when Skype started, it started almost like a game. And at some point, it then evolved into a different format. But at some point, Skype was the largest telephone company in the world that didn't have a line, didn't have a phone, and didn't have a single tower throughout the planet. But more communications were traveling through Skype than through any other telephone or cellular carrier in the world. What jobs does a company like that need? We don't even know. It's hard to explain today. You have companies today that are hospitality driven, they're hotels, they operate through Airbnb or Booking or whichever you want to choose. They don't have a single room, they don't own a single bed, they don't have a single manager in a single building. But they do have a team of people that go through different cities cleaning up rooms and bedrooms and houses and places that are rented this afternoon because somebody left this morning. What are those employees? They're going from house to house. We don't have a single hotel, and housekeeping is taking care of everything. So knowing what talent we will need is the hardest part that needs predicting. That makes us very unable to tell you what to train for. But having said that, badging and companies like Indeed and Looking Glass and Credly and other accredited entities provide us with information that tell us, okay, these skills are becoming more demanded, and they're becoming more demanded in this geography, or they're starting to pay better, or they're looking this way. I don't know. For example, today, my understanding is that several countries in the world are thinking of promoting battery industry related jobs because more and more batteries are going to be used for cars, for bicycles, for boats. Everything will eventually run on a battery, and it will run through lithium. And there's a whole chain there that is promoting the demand of certain skills in certain geographies, and universities are starting to build catalogs of talent because alumni from universities build the prestige of that university. So they start piling up badges saying Peter was here, Michael was here, Rosie was here, and Nayara was here, and they will show where those people are going to, what they're doing, and they will bring more talent in, and they will be telling us what talent will be demanded in 2 or 3 years with the help of Looking Glass, with the help of Credly, with the help of different institutions.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Luciano. Any other questions? Any other topics that we'd like to address, Pablo and our colleagues from the audience? Pablo, if you feel free to share if you have any other relevant message that you would like to address. I'm not sure if we have other questions from the audience, but again, it was really impressive how the workplace is changing and how companies must adopt some different overviews in order to identify talents and try to connect them to the workplace wherever they are. So we are very, very pleased to have this message today, especially because we are at the end of the year. Most of the companies are preparing for an annual wrap up. I would say most of the companies have a kind of what we call in Brazil a collective annual leave. but it's important to have in mind that these tools that you introduced to us that are in place in order to identify the most skilled person will probably foster how the workspace will be thought in the following years. So I would like to thank you again. I'm not sure if you have your wrap up answers, but I would like to give you the word to just uh, give a final word.
Thank you. I would invite everyone to go to a place like LinkedIn or Indeed and play around with people that you know that have certifications, that have badges. Look at the badge, look at the list of skills the badge includes, look at where those skills are in demand, look at the type of jobs that are being offered. You can usually choose Brazil, or you can usually choose one of the large cities in Brazil, and it will tell you who is hiring, how much they're paying, what type of person they're looking for, how long that vacancy has been opened. That information is very valuable and it helps us understand what sort of workplace we will find in the future. I find it very, very challenging and very interesting to do this and to work in this space. And employability and workforce and training has been a passion of mine for years. So please feel free to reach out, send any questions. It has nothing to do with what we're doing today. It's what we want to do tomorrow.
Great. Sounds amazing, Pablo. It's very, very impressive the way how you are connecting different capabilities and how we will how we must need to have this in mind for the future. I would like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank Britcham and Luciano. I will give the speech to you for your final remarks as well.
Yeah, thank you, Thiago. So I'd like to thank you very much for Pablo for being with us today and sharing his knowledge and experience. And thank you very much for the audience and people who managed to join us today. So that eventually, if you think about some questions in the future, just send us the question. You can share that with Pablo and come back to you, right? And as Britcham is promoting lots of events until the end of the year, so take a look on the upcoming events we have at Britcham website, www.britcham.com.br, right? And also, if you can, subscribe to Britcham's YouTube channel and share the link because we're going to get recording for this webinar in YouTube as well. Okay, so with that, I think we can close and I wish everyone, a very good week as it's only Tuesday, still a couple of days to go. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.